The Best Night Ever by Captain Crystalline. Chapter 5.
You'll be seeing rainbows, oh, oh, equestrian girls are kind of magical. Things on hoops, bikinis on top.
Blueblood opened his eyes. He remembered falling asleep in his study. Rarity curled up next to him. He remembered. He had tried to stay up. He had. To the sound of her soft snoring. He had studied her features and talked aloud about mazes and maps and noble gossip and juicy court rumors, long after she had tired of telling him about her friends, Ponyville, her sister, and her work. They discussed the merits of archery versus falconry, and she recounted the adventures she had trekking through Everfree and meeting a servant named Stephen, winning him over at the cost of an unreasonably short-cut tale. The last thing he recalled was resting his head and eyes, knowing she was already fast asleep. And now she was gone. Resting his front leg against his face, Blueblood had sucked in a shuddering breath. It had been hundreds of loops since he had cried. Muffled sounds escaped his lips. Part of him wanted to stay in bed, to just lay in place and relieve his shadow of that fleeting moment of happiness he had captured, that he shared. Gone. There was an ache in him that hadn't been in there before. He had stabbed himself, poisoned himself, electrocuted himself. He had been drowned, burned, hung, petrified, and even devoured. He had died in countless ways, but the pain never lasted. Every morning he was back where he began. Every morning he was as good as new. This was the first time he hurt. Light filtered through him through a crack in the curtains, reminding him that, as attractive as it was to do nothing, he made a promise to himself. Every day an opportunity. No more suicidal loops. No more wallowing in grief. Do better, be better. It's the only way forward when fate brought you back to the start time and time again. Inhaling, fortifying his resolve, Blueblood forced himself out of bed and opened the curtains to take in the gardens below. It was another day, another beautiful morning. Taking a few seconds longer than usual to stare at the maze in the distance, he rang the bell for his chambermaids. He tried to be upbeat, and told himself again and again that he would still be, no matter what had happened. His heart was as compliant as his brain. It felt stressed, and worn. "Good morning, Light-Tots," Sandy. He greeted the pair, turned his hair to stare at his reflection. Same as always.
My prince?
Light-Tots asked, carefully sensing something was amiss. He started tauntingly. "Tonight's the gala, isn't it, Sandy?" he asked, smiling pleasantly at the sight of her feeling.
Yes, sir,
she muttered. He levitated a brush out of her hose. "I'm going for a little walk." Discord. He stood before the supposedly inert statue. It was not unfamiliar to him. He had seen it in passing many times. His being able to sense a faint hint of the demon within was new. It wasn't necessarily malice, as the old books claim. It was like probing ripples of magic, barely discernible against the natural flow of the arcane all around him. Perhaps he had been completely inert once, but all those old bonds were clearly fading, fraying, and close to failing.
You're probably distraught, but no magic on Equestria can have the effect that you described. Even Discord couldn't cast such a spell. Probably.
He had not forgotten Celestia's words, and had said in passing so long ago. "If I released you," he wondered aloud, believing just maybe it could hear him, "could you save me?" He reached for the cold statue, hoof rushing against the scaled leg. "Could you kill me?" he asked more quietly. Discord. The only being more powerful than Celestia, more powerful than Luna, as powerful, as it was rumored, the elements of harmony themselves. This was Discord. He could do it too. Blueblood knew he could.
Even Discord himself couldn't cast such a spell. Probably.
And if Discord was free, if the rules of the universe were cast aside, then what? Was this the answer? Was this how he could end his cycle? Blueblood wondered about that. He had already destroyed Canterlot once, and that he wasn't proud of. At the time, he had been willing to do that. take that step, go that far, to sacrifice that much, to be free. Now, standing in front of what could be his only potential path to freedom, Blueblood couldn't help but think of all the ponies across Camelot he had helped, instead of trying to manufacture a perfect day. It was just the two of them, alone, in that garden. No pony could stop him in time. No pony could blame him. It was tempting. So terribly, sadly, agonizingly tempting. I could, he said, but turned away. But it seems I can't. Gave Stone Person a passing pat on the foot. Walked back to the castle. There's still so much to see, so much to learn, so very much to do. I think tonight is going to be alright. The scapegoats pulled up, and Spike made a pair of quick jumps down to the ground. Candlelight had been done up in style. This was his first time seeing the Grand Galloping Gala up close. He had to admit it was a impressive sight. Candlelight was his hometown and old stomping grounds. There was so much to do and see, not just the gala, but in the palace and all around town. But yet there was no curfew. They had all night to enjoy themselves. Bowing as he waited for the door to the carriage to open, he was rewarded with a real sight. Spike, here's a little problem with trying to enjoy the rest of the city when there's the gala present. Take it from a guy who goes to a new town every time there's a new convention around. You could say all you want that you're not going to spend time at the convention. You could say all you want that you're not going to spend almost every day. However, at a con, there's just so much to do and so much to see that unfortunately you're going to be stuck doing everything. So, yeah. You should really realize that just because you want to do everything at the city when there's a con, doesn't mean there isn't going to happen. The most logical thing would be to wait until after the big event is over. The 6 mares inside were positively glowing with anticipation and excitement, looking outright amazing in their dresses. Verity sure knew her stuff, that was for sure. What other pony could have designed to stitch 6 unique personalized dresses? Actually 12 if you counted the rejects. Or was it 11, since the girls had finished one of them? Or 10? Regardless, Spike doubted any pony in Equestria could have Verity's feet. The result was a stunning sextet of mares ready to hit the town. He stood aside and listened as they began a musical number. The little dragon had sort of expected something like this to happen. If the group hadn't gotten started on it, Pinkie Pie herself would have at least tried to burst into yet another random ballad about galas and parties. The spontaneous song and dance was a relatively recent development for the young dragon. Probably something to chalk up to some sort of weird friendship-based magic or another. So Spike simply took it in stride and tapped his foot as he played out. Art the dress, he decided, was better. Then again, what could top art the dress? Life is a runway! What? That was a pretty awesome song. The song, meanwhile, reached its end, and then every pony bolted, going their separate ways the moment they passed through the castle gates. Alone on the red carpet, Spike could do little more than stare at the retreating hindquarters of his friends from Ponyville. Twilight running out to see Celestia, of course. Rainbow Dash off to gush over the Wonderbolts, big surprise. Pinkie Pie off to tear up the dance floor somewhere, made sense. Applejack off to set up shop. Sooner was better than later, he supposed. Fluttershy beeline straight for the gardens. Does he even have a map, or was he just going to get lost out there? Then there was Rarity, off to find love. Like he couldn't find that down the street. Spike sighed. That was a depressing topic. Being treated like a little egg-toothed baby by the mare you loved. Seriously, he lost his egg tooth years ago. Anyway, it would have been really so hard for every pony to stick together, at least for a little while. Hopefully, they all get the various gala distractions out of their system soon. I repeat, Spike. Con! There's no way you're going to get undistracted by going to a con. Trust me. Do you know how many times my mother has actually looked at us and said with a straight face, "Now, we're not going to spend all our time at the con." It's usually 8 p.m. by the time we get to the hotel. Until then, well, you can wait around the gate. Something could find it when the time came. In the midst of doing so, when a rumble in the little dragon's stomach prompted to cover his mouth. It felt like a letter from Celestia, but now of all times, turning his head, he coughed, and the ash from his sputtering green flame came together, concealing it to a paper note. With resolutely opening it while looking for Twilight, it had to be heard. He cut the line on top. "Wait a second," he said to himself, rereading it. "It's for me?" Twilight ran up to the steps of the oratory. Slowing down, she noticed not one royal personage, or even two, but three waiting for her. Waiting for and greeting all the guests. Celestia was actually off to the side slightly, rather than the center of attention. As the dark alicorn gestured and inclined her head politely to the sets of incoming guest ponies. "Princess Luna?" She couldn't help but wonder, stopping a few steps short of the fourth platform, crowned the oratory staircase. "Twilight's spoken," the Princess of the Night announced loudly. "We welcome you to this year's gala celebration. There will be much feasting and boasting and drinking this night," she cringed a little gutturally voice. "Though, actually, we've been told the feasting and drinking has been refined somewhat over the 1,000 years." "Still a great deal of boasting, however," Celestia chimed in, walking closer, and motioning her student closer. "Come, Twilight, we are both glad to see you." "Yes, we would thank you for your actions for freeing us from Nightmare Moon," the Lunar declared. Lunar Maiden held out her gauntleted silver hoof. "Happy to have helped?" Twilight shook the dark alicorn's hoof, surprised she was more gentle with her group than she was in toning down her speaking voice. "Miss Sparkle," another voice spoke. A large white unicorn trotted up, also offering his hoof. This had to be the one mortal member of the royal family, Prince Blueblood. It was also the stallion that Rarity Missy wanted to beat. There was a rumor around Ponyville of all places that he had been seen there. Twilight shook its hoof and smiled pleasantly. "Princess," Twilight said, quickly turning her attention to her mentor, "I was hoping we could talk tonight. I have so much to tell you." Celestia's violet eye narrowed as she tried to explain. "I am quite busy at the moment. I'm sure we—" "The course of me, Auntie," Blueblood interrupted, giving a short hum, "that the rules specify the princess should be present to welcome guests for the gala, not necessarily which princess." The immortal alicorn's smile widened, just long enough for those who knew her to recognize it. "Quite a liberal interpretation of the rules, nephew," Celie leaned down and whispered among the four of them. "I like it. I'll be back on to check on you two sooner or later." Twilight grinned ear to ear, trotted after her mentor and Io.
How lucky!
Luna watched the pair go with a quizzical eyebrow, then turned to her strange nephew. "One would think that you planned that ahead of time," she stated, a smile on her face. "One would," Blueblood agreed, and waved to another of the arriving guests, a pair ascending the steps, no doubt to distract her. Luna chuckled, prepared to meet the next group of ponies, her nephew by her side. Regardless of whether he had any other motive behind taking into attending, the fact was she was there, now, and determined to see the night through. Even 1,000 years ago, Luna knew she had been very popular, a gregarious princess. So much had changed over the centuries of exile, that I was even more hesitant to go before to try and repair her image and make a public reappearance. When Blueblood had personally asked to attend tonight's celebrations, she initially tried to dismiss him. The gala was the social event of the year, after all, and it was wiser to start small and work one's way up. Her strange nephew, however, had a surprising way of words. He seemed to know every single mare and stallion at Canterlot, and was willing to make introductions for her without making her seem like an accessory. She wondered if his current scheme, whatever it was also what had called him away to the palace so abruptly and repeatedly throughout the day. "Lady Flair," he identified the mare first, and her date. "Hoity, how nice of you two to make it!" "Indeed," Nuna thundered, greeting him in her own way. Canterlot speaking a voice of full roar. "We are Princess Luna! In the name of the royal family, we welcome you to our gala!" Mary couldn't help but notice he had been on the receiving end of a strange look from the prince when she introduced herself to him, and to Princess Luna. Not only did he know who she was, a fact that filled her with glee at the time, but he kissed her hoof, an action she had not seen him repeat with any number of esteemed or important guests of court. She was still a bit flushed and flattered, but there was a degree of curiosity coloring her thoughts as well. He must have heard her somewhere. Yet there was little time for pleasantries. Miss Rarity, he said with a slight grin, may I impose upon you for a dance later? She had been about to remark how she'd be honored to do so, when she had been shuffled off, the prince offering a conciliatory wink. A long line of guests were gathering to introduce themselves to their new, returned Princess Sovereign, and there was no time to linger. But it was a new item, and even with Celestia not present, novelty attracted high society. The poor princess was greeting guests, in groups of 4 or more, remaining close by, not necessarily to eavesdrop, but to see. Rarity happened to overhear how the prince was listing off every guest, but wrote name and title. Well, him knowing her now seemed less surprising. On the air hoof, it was rather impressive. Some faces were known to all who fastened themselves cultured. It was hard to mistake Hoity-Toity, for example. But Rarity had not known the mayor with him. She recognized Starstreak, the famous model, but not the other mayors following her around. More importantly, with 8 introductions being made, the 2 royals could be done in less than an hour. This was a good thing. It meant she didn't have to wait long to catch the prince's eye a second time. In turn, Rarity busied herself by mixing and mingling with some of the other socialites upstairs, checking a large antique clock on display between the 2 menagerie wings. She also wondered how her friends were getting along. She had tried to impress on them the importance of blending in tonight, and they were attending the cream of the high society functions. It was a big if as to whether they paid any attention.
My pie! You saved it!
Soren wasted no time in dealing with his precious confection, not wanting to risk another incident. He placed the floor and started to dig in. No one could reckon if it was in his stomach.
Hey, I know you.
Spitfire pointed to the filly in a rainbow dress, savior of Soren's pie. It seemed like they wouldn't be hitting the buffet yet after all.
You're the pony that saved us in Cloudsdale and won the best flyers competition. Hey, yeah!
The light blue Pegasus boasted, basking in the glow of recognition.
Name's Rainbow Dash! Well, Rainbow Dash, looks like your skills saved us again.
Spitfire smirked and glanced over to the side, where her partner was already half-finished stuffing his face.
Or, well, at least he saved Sora's apple pie.
The stallion's response was an affirmative, though muffled by chunks of baked pastries.
Will you come hang out with us?
She then asked, motioning to the VIP lounge.
Sure,
Dash pleaded, terribly obviously coy.
Why not? Funny story,
Spitfire added, looking to her security.
There was some kind of weird scheduling mistake, so Sora and I are free all night.
Applejack was not a happy pony. Aside from 1 apple pie, she hadn't made a sale in the hour. The culprit had to be the hasty buffet and down the way. There were flowery signs helping to direct ponies, guests only, to where they could fill up on fancy itty-bitty hors d'oeuvres. Worst, there wasn't a darn thing she could do about it.
And look at that one mare, Saffron. She's feeling down too. She wanted to test out her new meals here. Yeah, maybe I should actually go and make my new restaurant in Catalan.
Pardon me. Applejack looked up, the cup of her hoof making a pop as he pulled it free from her cheek. How long had she been moping there? Long enough to leave an embarrassed imprint on her face. She got a good look at the speaker, and realized the second it was a potential customer. Not one of the guests, though. The pony wore clean, but simple clothes in white-black, with a bit of pink. She was a unicorn, with a light blue coat, layered in dashes, pinkish red mane, done to a neat bun. With her was another mare, the same age or maybe a little younger, with chocolate coat and dark blonde mane. He didn't seem to be guests at all. In fact, if Applejack had to guess, they were servants.
I was wondering if I could have one of your apples.
The more talkative the pair asked, pointing to 1 apple in particular.
Sure like, Sugar Cube.
Applejack teared eagerly, and finally getting another sale. She faced the other mare.
Hungry? Anything I can get for you?
Could I have 1 candy apple? The dark brown filly said. Her bashfulness could probably give Fluttershy a run for her money.
1 candy apple coming right up.
Plucking the confection off his tray, Applejack added a little napkin so it was easier to hold and to eat.
Angel!
1 jingle, 4 bits fell into her purse. The 2 serving girls didn't waste time before starting to eat. By the looks on their faces, they were happy, satisfied customers. Applejack's favorite. She had only 6 bits to her name tonight, but it was better than nothing. Seeing ponies enjoying the fruits and labors of Sweet Apple Acres was a reward in and of itself, too. Not just a monetary reward. The family needed those, too. Excuse me, miss? A stallion's voice this time. She looked up and saw a colt in a prim white black vest. There were two others with him. More servants? We heard you were selling apples? Later, the trio continued. Applejack's spirits rose. You are too, now I am! Maybe tonight wasn't such a loss after all. Things weren't working out. It was time to be more assertive. Yes, assertive!
I'm so sorry to have scared you, my friends.
Fluttershy called to all the little creatures in hiding, a line of rope between her teeth.
But I'm leaving now. You can all come out.
Ducking quickly behind one of the many festive iron arches, she peeked out from behind a corner to watch the fruits of her labor. Very soon, she finally done one of the elusive little critters, and would learn to love her just like all the animals back home did. She then set it free to tell all the other animals, and like a runaway chain reaction, all the animals would come to her and apologize for being so flighty and rude. She'd see that like she was just like them, and she was their friend, and she'd spend all night singing and frolicking and teaching her about their quirks and natures. All she had to do to get to that point was catch one little critter! A strangely sinister laughter bubbled up from her throat in a voice she hardly recognized as her own. Part of her gala dress snagged on a nearby rose bush that round around the heads, the thorn ripping free of one of her little butterfly ornaments. Fluttershy ignored it. Little things that could be patched up later. All she had to do now was focus on waiting for the crunch sound of some adorable animal nibbling at the bait. Pop! Odd. Animals didn't go pop. Balloons went pop, but not the animals. She opened her eyes and saw a pair of huge toes in front of her. It was connected to a pony. A unicorn pony. Oh dear, unicorns went pop, didn't they? And he didn't seem happy. It wasn't even strange, but a harmless groundskeeper who kept getting in the way of her catching and making an animal friend tonight. This was a large, pure white, important-looking pony. Fluttershy also realized he had a rope in her mouth. A rope that led to a corner to the trap. A trap meant for an animal. An animal that was living in Celestia's private garden. Oh dear. Miss, the unicorn began to say, may I ask what you're doing here?
Oh,
She straightened down, her pink mane covering her face.
I was being assertive.
He held out a hoof, not angrily, but expecting to help her up. Fluttershy dropped the rope, took his offer, and stood. Standing up, she could see he was just as big and still as intimidating. Especially since he had caught her quite improper. Voice in her head whisper, not improper, illegal. But that was just an overreaction, surely. She wasn't really in trouble, was she? She wouldn't be banished for just one harmless little trap, would she? She wouldn't be thrown in a dungeon. That was for serious criminals, not poor beleaguered animal lovers. You must be Miss Fluttershy, the unicorn said, as she nodded meekly.
Yes. You know me?
Followed because of her time as a model. She grinned at how famous it made her, especially in certain circles. I've seen your picture, the stallion replied. Let's put away that trap of yours. I don't think it will work too well anyway.
Oh, what was wrong with my trap?
She asked, feeling a bit defensive, apparently self-incriminating.
I mean, if you don't mind me asking. I mean, not that I was,
Is that a carrot? Yes, leading her back around the corner, under the iron arch and into the clearing. The only wildlife nearby was that old groundskeeper, as usual.
I am guide for the buffet.
The only raw carrots on the menu should be served on a bed of rice. He levitated the crispy root into the air and tossed it to the groundskeeper. Despite having his eyes closed, the old magical pony managed to snake it out of the air with a snap of his jaws. Delicious! He groused to himself. Floating at the cardboard box, the stallion snapped it into corners and folded it into a neat square. Fluttershy bowed her head, fully expecting to either be reprimanded for her behavior or thrown out of garden, or the party, or worse. Tears welled up in her eyes at the spectacle she ended up making. Not only would she be publicly humiliated, she'd never be allowed back. She'd never see a wallaroo, or a tengan, or a single parrot, or a hedgehog, or honey badger, or a red panda bear, or jackal, or whopper tiger. Miss Fluttershy, don't cry. The unicorn's voice prompted her to look up. You aren't in trouble.
I'm not?
She asked, sounding heartbreaking and hopeful. He shook his head. No. The animals in the gardens aren't normal, you know.
They aren't?
Fluttershy asked, curiosity displacing worriedly. Her flames flashed happily, but still, his words sunk in.
What do you mean?
That kangaroo over there, looking at us from behind that bush, he pointed over to one of the hedges. The wild roost he had seen before, but unable to catch. He was keeping a wary eye on them from behind the barrier. His mouth was moving slowly as he chewed his stare. That animal was poached from its royal game reserve 3 years ago, he exclaimed. Its owner wanted it as a decided pet.
Oh,
Fluttershy gasped and frowning.
that's not nice.
He also kicked the pony, hurting them badly. Stallion added, It's here because Auntie Celestia didn't want it put down, and because it can't survive in the wild anymore.
That's terrible. That's just terrible.
First, I wasn't one to get angry really easy, but she really wished she had some way of writing what had happened to that creature. Her expression fell, dejected. She realized that just moments ago she had been chasing that same kangaroo. That vulture up there, he continued, one last example, was brought in for falconry. Some fool believe you could train it like a common goshawk or kestrel. Almost every animal in this garden was captured wild. Most never saw a pony before they came here, and many have been treated poorly. Miss Fluttershy, he implored, please look at me. She did, suddenly smiling amiably, just a hint of sadness in his eyes. You're going to have to be very patient with them. Oh, that made sense. But,
I only have one night.
she muttered, you can always come back, I promise. He assured her, laying down to keep eye contact. You can't rush friendship now, can you? She wiped the tears from her eyes to say to herself.
It took weeks for Angel Bunny to become my friend.
She remembered and nodded to herself. The tears in her eyes.
Thank you so much.
She reached out as if to hug the strange unicorn. Flushed, tugging her host in.
Thank you.
It was my pleasure, he replied, still smiling despite her embarrassment. If you like, I can help you for a little while. I've had a lot of time to practice my bird calls recently, and I can introduce you to my young Tristle, Dreamcatcher.
That would be wonderful.
Fluttershy agreed, feeling better than she had all evening.
But, you know who I am. I'm afraid I don't know you. What's your name? I'm at the Grand Galloping Gala. I'm at the Grand Galloping Gala. I'm at the Grand Galloping Gala.
Pinkie sighed alone at her table.
Oh.
No one wanted to dance. No one especially wanted to dance with her at the spectacle she made when she first came in. Everybody had been avoiding her, like she had dreaded gun disease known as gingivitis, even though she brushed her teeth 3 times a day. That big, boring, stuffing, meaty pants jerks. Not a single pony even wanted to use the dance floor. It was just sitting there, all sort of literally shining, and the ponies were just dancing around and chatting. All they did was talk. Like you're any different. At least when Pinkie talked, she had something to say, and possibly repeat 2 or 3 times over. Why were these ponies here in the fancy, expensive dance room if they weren't going to dance? I'm with Pinkie Pie on this! It was as crazy as going to the kitchen to sleep. Oh, or you're going to your room to make cupcakes. But wouldn't it be super neat if you could make cupcakes in your room? Oh, or you're asleep nearby while your muffins were in the oven? You're getting distracted. Right, she was getting distracted. Distracted from moping. She had important moping to do. Stupid pretty ponies, stupid mares in fancy dresses stressing around, stupid cute stallions drinking and ignoring her, stupid smelly gala. Pardon me, everybody. A voice from the stage caused her ears to perk up. It was one of the band members, the orchestra ponies. She cleared her throat again. We have a special request for an unorthodox song. Please bear with us. Pinkie's ear did a little twitch. Hey, everybody! That voice. Looking up, Pinkie saw Spike sitting next to the piano pony, going over a sheet of music. She tilted her head in bemusement. What was Spike doing there? What, you're asking me? She knew the little dragon was quite skilled on the keys for the whole Appaloosa thing, but after she'd been chased off stage herself, she doubted he could have just walked up and asked to participate. What was going on? After a few seconds of prep time, Spike and the pianist, Sharp Note, began to play. The latter also slipped on a pair of sunglasses. Ian cleared his throat in preparation for a vocal score. Soon, trumpet and saxophone started up, bringing home a tune Pinkie knew from somewhere. Not only in her ear now, but her left foot was switching too. back hoof was also tapping. Due to the beat, not saying sort of Pinkie sense in accent. Something was definitely about to happen. Something fun.
Well, I heard about the fellow you've been dancing with all over the neighborhood. So why didn't you ask me, baby? Or didn't you think I could? Urged the dance, rising. Well, I know that the boogaloo was out of sight, but the singling's a thing tonight. But if that was you and me and now, baby, well, I would have shown you how to do it right. Rising. Do it right, do it right, do it right, do it right, do it right,
Too late. Her body was already flying out to the dance floor. And, to her surprise, silly pony, didn't I warn you? She wasn't alone. For the first time this evening, somebody else was on the dance floor too. He was a unicorn. Not really Pinkie's type, but he was dancing. And he was pretty good. She reared up and grabbed one of her hooves, spinning around in crazy circles. She hardly registered the shocks and gasps of so many other staid and scandalized partygoers.
twist and shake it, baby. Well, hey, we're gonna lift the loop, shake it out, baby. We're gonna lift the lock.
To her delight, he joined her bending over, shaking his rear, his dark golden tail swishing scandalously against her dress.
Bend over, let me shake your tail feather. Bend over, let me shake your tail feather. Come on, let me see you shake your tail feather. Come on, let me see you shake your tail feather. Ah!
Spinning around, Pinkie stood on two legs, kicked in time to the music, bouncing and laughing as he joined her. It seemed impossible, but he couldn't help but wonder if this was a special request had been for her. It was fun.
It was super duper fun with cherries on top. Do the twist.
Her dress swung from side to side, voiced her hips.
Do the fly.
Flapping front legs switched from the buzz.
Do the swim.
To the sea pony.
And do the bird.
To the flying Pegasus.
And do the duck.
Pinkie always thought about this one should have been called the chicken.
And do the monkey.
Front legs and hooves swinging, she faced side to side and bounced to the opposite, to face him again.
Hey, what is it?
As he stopped closer, the two held out the front legs and shifted from hoof to hoof.
What about the boogaloo? Oh, the bunny maroney. Ah, what about the food? Ah, twist in. Shake it, baby.
By the time the song finished, Pinkie was ready to go out to the giggles. Whew! Doing Blues Brothers. Never thought I'd gotta do that. Mark that off the list. It was just too bad that, before she could say anything, the orchestral ponies quickly, too quickly, that was fun, switched to a slower, more traditional song. When the birds were returning to her table, happy to at least have one fun dance, the pink party pony was surprised when a white foreleg struck out to intercept her. Eyes wide, she realized her unknown partner was asking her to stay on the dance floor. Though it wasn't the same dance as before, even though every pony was still staring at them. Don't tell me that you're tired already. White unicorn asked with a cheeky grin. Pinkie
Oh!
She gasped, but didn't do the normally briefly suspended oneself in midair trick. She would have, except he intercepted her in that too, forcing her to stay on the ground.
Do I know you from somewhere?
She asked, leaning closer. I've heard about you, he replied, tapping himself on the dance floor. Come on, don't you want to know how to dance this music too?
I do!
This couldn't be. The Menagerie au Soleil? It was packed. More than 100 ponies had to be in either the room trying to get in, forced instead to adjacent salons. Tables had been pushed back up against the walls, and the air was filled with not just music, but the sound of hundreds of hooves moving on the polished floor. Verity had been waiting for Princess Luna to finish with her introductions, welcoming the last of the gentry to the gala. At some point, however, she and her nephew had vanished, convinced more than ever that she needed to find her would-be date for the evening. The fashionable unicorn moved from chamber to chamber, trying to catch sight or wind of him. It was, some ponies did claim to have seen him, just rarely in the same place for terribly long. Hi there, Sugar Clam! A familiar voice called out. Rarity, over here! Craning her neck, she saw the unmistakable hat that only Applejack would be wearing here. Squeezing through the crowd, Rarity quickly found not one, but two of her missing friends. Applejack was busy pulling a shy Pegasus behind her. Fluttershy softly muttering an apology every time she bumped into another pony. Applejack was all smiles and greeted her warmly with a hug. despite her nervousness. Even Fluttershy seemed to be in good spirits, and daintily touched the host with her friend.
My word,
Verity remarked, seeing her fellow elements of harmony in such a jovial state. She singled out the country mayor in particular.
does you look like to cultivate the canary?
I reckon I have a right to, Applejack explained, tipping her hat back. Darn near sold out tonight. Just put the rest of it away out back. She pointed out back behind her, and the general directed where her carriage was parked. Well, you're going to spend the rest of the night seeing how every pony else is doing.
Then, that is good news,
She replied, then asked her other friend.
What about you, Fluttershy? I rather expected you still be in the gardens. Oh, I mostly came back just to get something to eat,
The nature lover explained.
I also wanted to thank somebody for helping me.
I knew there was another reason why you came in. I'll bless you out there. Applejack threw a less than subtle wink Fluttershy's way.
It wasn't like that.
The Pegasus protested, struck back a bit.
I mean, not really. Blueblood is very nice and even found a groundhog for me, but it isn't like that. Prince Blueblood?
Verity asked, tilting her head in confusion.
You saw him out in the gardens?
Fluttershy nodded.
He stopped me from making a mistake. And since I am getting a little hungry, so I wondered where he had gone to.
Well, we could look for him and every pony else, Applejack said with a grin. We got plenty of time before the deer spread. See any of our party around, Verity?
Yes, well.
Verity gave a brief rundown, dismissing some of her surprise at Fluttershy's nose. Rainbow's probably still with the Wonderbirds. I checked the lounge a little while ago, but didn't see her. I saw Pinkie Pie in the ballroom somewhere, so I disappeared with the princess, Princess Nessie, of course, and no, I have no idea where Blueblood is, so don't even ask. If you pardon the interruption, monocled her pony, but listening to her proximity, pointing towards the dance floor. I couldn't help over here. You must have heard. They're both out there.
Out where?
Verity asked, and squeaking as Applejack began leading her through the crowd. Fluttershy close behind, much less polite about it than a cultured unicorn. The farm pony was both willing and able to push through to win the mares and stallions did readily yield to the right of way. In their wake could be heard mutter,
Oh, sorry about that. Oh, oops, sorry.
What he saw soon led to Fascination's jaw agape. Celestia herself was on the dance floor, wings unfurled and head swaying to the music, as he glided around in step with her nephew, moving freely and easily through the ballroom music. By simple virtue of size, color, and incomparable presence, she was the center of the attention, but the immortal princess was far from the only one dancing. A pink bundle of energy, one Pinkie Diane Pie, was close by, dancing with another mare, who could only be Twilight Sparkle. All around them, dozens of other ponies were also paired off and enjoying themselves. Even Princess Luna was present, sipping from a long straw at a table, surrounded by a rainbow of would-be and seemingly emboldened suitors.
Oh, over here!
Pinkie Pie bounced straight up in the air, waving her front legs.
Oh,
Ah, Blinky, yes, sir, we saw ya! Applejack blushed at the antics of her friend, waving to make sure she would stop telegraphing their presence to the entire world.
The princess is.
Randy was still skipping into sight.
I don't believe it.
Then her face fell along her prospects.
I'll never be able to dance with him now.
Impossibly. Pinkie Pie's front legs stretched to pull them in closer once he entered Pinkie range. The dynamo of energy wrapped her front legs around their shoulders as he started chattering at high speed, trying to fill their ears in on current events. Randy was only able to catch some of it. It did seem that the party portion of the gala had picked up to an unusual degree. A pink whirl later, and she reached Twilight with Applejack, trying to teach another friend the dance steps she had learned. Partnered with Twilight, Verity settled into easy play step. The tired unicorn prodigy breathed a sigh of relief in not having to keep pace with her Earth Pony's friend's balanced energy.
Darling, you have to tell me, please.
Randy leaned as it could be heard.
What's going on?
Oh, I'm not too sure myself, Twilight admitted. This isn't anything like the galas I read about. She glanced over her shoulder at Mentor.
But the princess seems to be enjoying herself. Well, that's very nice, but,
she sighed,
I guess I missed my chance.
Randy couldn't help but glance past Twilight, to where Celestia and Blueblood each had a hoof extended, swinging back and forth, ducking their heads in and out, manes shaking from the movement. The princess whooped as he reared, and she did the same, hooves playfully batting in midair. It was so strange to see the normally dignified Celestia giggling and laughing at her own antics. Her nephew, too, seemed to be enjoying himself, as he danced to the lively musical ensemble with its challenging piano score. It took a second for Rarity to realize Twilight was staring too, though probably more than her mentor than a stallion. The dressmaker smiled knowingly, and leaned in closer to the other unicorn.
Why, Twilight, she cooed. Are you jealous? No, 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 no!
The bookworm looked quickly away, faint blush striking her cheeks.
Why would I be jealous? I mean, what would I be jealous about?
Nothing.
If you say so, darling.
Rarity stuck out her front leg.
What's around?
Mimicking what could be seen as Celestia and Blueblood do. Twilight touched her leg to Rarity's, and the pair of moves spread around. It wasn't the most graceful of moves, but it was fun and they laughed. Rarity put aside her other worries for the moment, and focused on helping Twilight work on her steps. Really, it was just a matter of her relaxing a bit. A stiff dancer was a poor dancer. Abruptly, the music became slower, still energetic concerto, punctuated with a bassoon intermezzo solo. By the rarity of the countryside, the day after winter wrap-up, the fields coming into bloom for the first time, life renewed and a reward for the work put in by every pony in town. It was a beautiful and romantic place, and as once as Twilight was her good friend, it was the kind of music she would have preferred to share with.
Pardon me.
Suddenly, Rarity's partner was taken aside, spun, and switched for another. The studious mare only had time for an eep, followed by abruptly by
Princess Celestia, what did?
and then
Twilight. It's a disappointing surprise. Oh, then maybe I should leave, dear.
I hope you don't mind me putting a switch like that.
her new partner apologized, but clearly didn't mean it.
Miss Rarity.
Miss Blueblood.
She almost stumbled in surprise, but quickly adjusted her steps to match his.
How forward?
Oh, he asked playfully. Did you wish to dance with one of your other friends, Miss Pickamini? Perhaps I can...
Absolutely not.
She had to stop him with a crystal slippered hoof.
Good.
He declared with an agreeable laugh. They danced slowly and easily among the crowd of ponies, and as they did, Verity must have envisioned what it must have looked like, and had the stallion change partners from Celestia to all ponies to her. The thought brought a little bit blush to her cheeks. The pressive bodies around them forced every pony to dance a bit closer than was usually proper, but the pair of unicorns still found it easily to match the rhythm of the other. One musical piece turned to two, then to three, and time flying by. Rarity considered it a small blessing that the orchestra had gone from some time without one of the more unconventional dances. She would never have guessed that anything but the traditional Baroque would be played at the Grand Galloping Gala of all events. But then, in the same vein, she would never have thought the Prince and Princess would indulge in such music either. It wasn't necessarily appropriate, but it was very vivacious. She had only seen a little of the stallion she had come to the gala to meet, but so much of what she had seen so far stretched her expectations. There was talk of him appearing all about the gala here and there, greeting high society ponies, even as he attended to one another bit of business. According to Fluttershy, he had even found time to stop by the gardens for whatever reason, and knowing the sweet Pegasus, she would not have been in the slices of the garden that other ponies would frequent. She suddenly felt woefully unprepared for a meeting that she had waited for and dreamed about all her life.
Miss Rarity.
He touched his head to ask in a cordial whisper, catching her daydreaming.
What do you think of this year's gala?
It's different,
She answered diplomatically.
not in a bad way, but then I haven't been to a gala before tonight.
He leaned a little closer to him, hiding her face as he asked,
What do you think?
I think
he seemed to think about it for a second.
this is the best gala yet.
Spinning around, Blueblood pressed her lips close to her ear.
I should warn you,
He whispered,
I promised the little dragon he could have a dance with you, so I will have you all to myself tonight.
Aren't you done yet?
You know, I've had a pretty comparatively easy one.
Can you at least turn around?
I'm almost done. Hold your horses.
It's very funny.
You know, I completely forgot. I could have just used Marty to do this.
You haven't been... Are you teasing me again, Prince Blueblood?
Perhaps. Okay, done.
It was approaching midnight, and Blueblood had escaped from the gala after dinner. It was a specific time. No more emergencies or distractions. This complication. The gala itself would continue for another hour or so before the princesses formally retired, signaling the end of the celebration. He had even booked a last-minute performance to end the night with a bang, right before the fireworks display.
a certain wayward elusiveness down our luck.
Ha ha!
Hopefully that mare could manage to contain herself and not insult any of the noble's attendants. Before then, Blueblood headed outside. Conveniently, he had also been followed. He had turned around and marveled at the topiary rarity he had cut. It had been a matter of practice, so he had real, genuine skill for this. In fact, he had learned well. Next to her, the collar of her head had been cut into the shape of his cutie mark. Even the proportions were spot on. The plant itself was still alive. It glowed faintly with her magic from the transformation. It was really impressive, as she could use pure magic to transform a living thing, even one as simple as plant, without really harming it. Beside him, he had cut and arranged a trio of diamonds, using magic to keep a plant alive, warp it here and there, and even out to the edges, and fill in the occasional natural hole. Rarity's mark had diamonds separate from one another, so you needed to carefully trim away the extraneous branches, and add a little magical glamour to complete the illusion.
Oh, it's lovely.
She deftly slid past him to examine his work more closely.
Did you add a little sparkle to it, too?
You actually shaded yours, he observed, mostly appreciative of the trouble sculpture. The two toes of her cutie mark were copied in a distinct shades of green.
You didn't peek, did you?
She asked, teasing him as he rounded the sculpture. I'll see if I would need to. He rounded and escorted her back into the open. One glance was all it took. Verity blushed, having only shown her mark to him for a few seconds before they began making sculptures. She genuinely surprised him tonight. Even acted rather unprincely, she stuck around. He wasn't sure if it was tenacity or what. She was so stubborn in certain ways. Miss Reality, he broached the topic that had bothered him before. I wanted to ask you for a while now. Why me? Out of all the stallions you could have been with tonight, why is it me?
Oh.
Her eyes started away. She tried to avoid the question. Is it because I'm a prince, he guessed. Is it because you read about me in some tabloid and caught your fancy? The strangest thing was that, at some point, he kind of wanted to believe it was more than that.
I'd be lying if there wasn't a factor to it,
Plainfield's transparent replied. He sighed, expecting the answer. It was the nearest successor she had seen to in some loops. Most mayors would be content to simply go to the gala itself. Few thought to use the opportunity to woo the head of a noble family. Such as it was, stringing those mares along had been a private thrill. Yet, oh, I see, he muttered.
You aren't what I read about,
C said, his ears pricked. I'm not? He asked, walking around here.
Well, all those articles pictured you as the most elite of the elite,
she continued, grinning as he fared to pray aghast. She took a barrel hoof in the air.
Prince Blueblood of 52nd, Lord Grand Veneer, Marcel of Canterlot, destined to marry any member of the nobility's finest, a unicorn of impeccable taste and unmatched refinement.
I see, that does sound like me, he admitted with a chuckle.
Nothing mentioned dancing or, what was it, the sea pony swim, much less scolding a common topiary.
Verity's blue eyes danced with mirth.
Do you know what I expected? She asked. I expected to spend the night stargazing, talking about art and being toured around the palace.
He breathed in a breathless air, suppressing a laugh. We do sponsor half the artists of the country, and Auntie needs a place to store it all. Blueblood looked up and raised the hoof to eye level. It is a nice, clear night. His gaze drifted from the stars to his company for the night, and grew more serious. Reality, you should know that I was never the pony you imagined me to be. If you had met me on a bad day, I think you would have been very disappointed. The truth is, I enjoy driving mares away. I enjoy rubbing their faces when I am not. She didn't seem thrown or put off by the supposed revelation. Instead, Rarity watched him carefully and asked,
And why didn't you? You seem to know every pony at the gala. You know who I was. Why am I any different? It's because of one of Twilight's friends.
Her face darkened a little, like passing under the shadow of a cloud.
It's because I happen to be one of the elements of harmony.
Blueblood's mirror changed, becoming passive. Thinking back. The way he said, as if it was years ago, and not hours. I think it was because you were the most beautiful man in the gala, and because I knew you were interested in me. It had nothing to do with harmony, fame, or honor. He gave a right side. His words, very distasteful,
When I was little, and other ponies used blocks to make castles and towers, I was the one who picked the nicest one and kicked it. That was so long ago, but I still feel that the part of me is in there.
He tapped his chest and frowned.
I think that's what Auntie meant before. That's what she meant.
The silence between them stretched on, until Rarity reached her hoof over his.
I don't believe you're that kind of pony anymore.
She said honestly, candidly.
And since you don't seem to be the prince your press paints you to be, I think it's proper I find out about the real you.
Then let me show you something.
Even as the night deepened, he took her into the royal garden labyrinth. Few could navigate it on hoof more quickly than he, though he normally refrained from following the course he knew by heart to the center. In all his loops, he returned here only once before, easily navigating the many twists, turns, and false leads, retracing the route he had first discovered the day he got his cutie mark. He led her to the small, secluded center of the maze. It was the Blueblood family monument, a clean, primordial obelisk. On it, the names of 53 Bluebloods were engraved, from the first, to his name, to the second son and daughter. All were blue blood. Yet those yet born would be blue blood. Celestia Luna would live forever. Blue blood too would live forever, in name if not in fact. Carved alongside all the heirs and progenitors of the line were their partners, long gone. Branches turned right on the blue blood tree.
The day I got my cutie mark, I found my name on the stone, right here.
He reached up to press the tip of his hoof to a name halfway down the monument.
Each side holds 90 names. This monument is meant to honor 360 generations of blue blood. I got my cutie mark when I discovered my place in the world, right here.
That's the same as stone.
Right here. I used to think that this was me. He tried back to all fours. And I don't think I ever told anybody that before.
But you shared with me tonight.
Verity, a limited generosity, pulled away from the monument.
Why? I know it's just because you see me as a tower of blocks to knock over.
She gently read him.
Tell me, please.
Because I had fun tonight.
He admitted, facing her, and not the future or the past.
Here with you, I'm not thinking about tomorrow.
His smile became tinged with melancholy.
That probably sounds so mundane, but it means everything to me right now.
I think I understand,
she said, leaning in close to him for warmth.
Tonight was the most wonderful night of my life. Tomorrow can take care of itself.
Overhead, fireworks exploded, filling the night sky with a sudden brief bloom of red, orange, while a distant orchestra played an entry into Princess into the Light. Rarity turned her chin up, and Blueblood dipped down, stealing a quick teased touch of the lips. The pair stood for a short time, until a cool breeze blew in from under the moon. The night sky, a trio take aside, whirled, a rainbow streak against the horizon, flanked by jets of light and fire.
Miss Verity, I'll teleport this inside if you say please.
Honestly, Prince Blueblood, making a lame, beg is most of say pop! You'll be seeing rainbows, oh, oh! Equestria girls are kind of magical. Boots on hooves, bikinis on top.
Blueblood found himself on his back, eyes blurry but open, staring at the delicate tile ceiling. The same ceiling as always. Slowly closing his eyes, he sighed a single, long, lamentable breath that sapped the energy from his body. He began to reach out and turn off the damnable contraction.
Fairy coats so cute, will blow your mind. Oh, really, darling, you listen to this music too.
A soft white front leg swung across his chest, fumbling for a second before turning the radio off. It then retracted, bumping to his cheek along the way, as the body moved to his right, pulling away the corner of the blanket. A voice muttered something about good customer, but overwhelming musician. Turning slowly, Blueblood sniffed a violet mane to visit his vision. Sitting upright, he gazed long and hard at the mare lying next to him, still in her gala dress. Tentatively, he reached out and poked her side. She felt real. Genuinely, really real. Still not entirely convinced he hadn't gone mad. Madder, anyway. He sat still and watched her for a while. Rarity stirred, having already been sufficiently disturbed by the radio. Rolled to her side. Blue eyes fluttered up and gazed at him.
What?
She asked, guessing him, staring and smiled.
You're here?
He whispered, wonderingly.
You're still here?
She blinked again, starting to frown. quickly ducked down and kissed her. Pressed to the lips, did just below the horn.
You're still here,
He said again, marveling at the fact. Before she could reply, looking somewhere between confused and pleased, he kissed her again. What had been the hesitation of a pony expecting a mirage to appear at that moment, came in and reached in the now relieved intoxication of a drowning pony finally on the verge of rescue. Rarity cooed and then chirped as he dipped her ear.
Miss Blueblood, really?
He sighed to her hair and kissed her on the nose.
Miss Rarity. Yesterday was the longest day of my life. You'll forgive me for feeling a little frisky.
Not quite understanding, she watched him with wide eyes. Never once had he seen her in the morning before. She was breathtaking. At the royal table, Princess Luna sipped from her glass of dinner wine. The night had been quite tiring, for once, and she was looking forward to a good long nap while her sister managed the day. She wondered how some ponies, and some creatures like Mrs. Sparkle's dragon assistant, could manage to have so much heresy, cavorting around the castle at all hours. Some light ponies had stayed up, even after the end of the gala. Some milling about, others having fun. Even as exhausted as she was, and a little flushed at the attention she had garnered, the princess couldn't help but look forward to the next year. Perhaps she could still have late night fun before then, too. Winter solstice was the longest night of the year, and then there was this nightmare night she had heard of. Saying goes by, Luna's older sister nibbled on a plate of yucca fruits. Saying that reminded her.
Where do you suppose Blueblood's gotten into?
She wondered. Now you've seen her and him this morning. Luna gave her sister a look.
It was with that grin.
Celestia studiously sit from the tip of the tree.
It's been some time.
Light touch glanced over the clock. It was almost 11, almost noon. Listening to the radio, once again playing Equestria Girls. Quiet party standing didn't look up for she lay sitting on a pillow.
The prince is usually awake for today.
She got older, a bit worried.
I understand. Is he going to call for us?
Sandy felt it and shook her head. She and Billy only had one thing to say.
Not today.
The end. And now for the review. Normally I do this from my other studio, but considering the fact that I'm moving and I'm feeling very confined, this is going to be an interesting way to do the review. You know, one thing I do love is when you see a story that's hyped up and has been praised by others, has a tropes page, and has all these likes, and people talk about how great it is. It's so nice that when you read something that's been hyped up like this has been for me, that it lives up to the hype. And it's really as good as people have been telling me it is. I mean, shoot, I'm a diehard Sparity shipper, and even I don't mind this. Then again, I don't mind alternate versions of my favorite OTPs, as long as it's done well, and it's actually written competently. Which, thanks Celestia on high, this was. This was done really well and done beautifully. I loved every single minute of it. My complaints, can't complain it was short because it kept reaching over the 10,000s in the word count. No. Thinking. Thinking. Nope, can't think of anything. I hate it when I get to this point. Makes me feel like I'm such a lousy reviewer for not thinking of what I don't like about the fic. Oh well. Time for the platitudes. One thing I've always loved about Groundhog Day, the movie itself, is that it serves as a great character piece. It examines the character at his point, and who he is, and what specific point he needs to change, and just how far he is willing to do it, and what lengths he is willing to go to. Also, it shows just how you can change and why it's not really that big of an effort to actually change for the better. All you need to do is just try. And I like that that's the inner moral of it all. Is that it might take a while, but if you can actually just try hard, you can change for the better. And that's what I love about the illustration. Also, the film does a great job with a whole bunch of other techniques. Harold Ramis is a great director, but let's put that aside for now. I can go on for hours talking about this movie. I want to talk about the fic. This fic does the same. This is probably the second of two Groundhog Day loose fics that I've seen pony related. The other one being, of course, Hard Reset. And don't worry, guys. One day I will do the other two fics because I want to finish the trilogy. Hard Reset itself already has a live read, and I do have a tradition of trying not to do fics that already have live reads. Although people ask me nicely enough. And both do the loop really, really well. What I also love is that both loops that take in a certain fact about Equestria. This is a magical world. This is completely different from Bill Murray's Groundhog Day in the fact that Groundhog Day has no magic. This has magic. So it's very easy to actually start thinking, okay, so what is the links? What are the differences between what can we do or cannot do in the world of Equestria? And this fic demonstrates it well by bringing out the magic, the sorcery, the different types of spells, and different types of tricks to be used by Prince Blueblood. I also love that this also managed to bring in the Groundhog Day loop without being repetitive. We see the basics of it, and then we restart it and continue going on. Sorry. I love how Blueblood's character began to grow steadily as we got to see his inner thoughts and feelings, and as he goes through the scenarios of the Groundhog Day loop. Trying to figure out, okay, what can I change and what can't I change? What can I fix? What can't I fix? And how does this work and how does this happen? I also love the fact that Blueblood does manage to remember everything about these loops, because heavens knows I couldn't. The effort was really well done, and I also liked seeing his boredom, excitement, and all these different types of emotions and feelings going through with these types of loops. And speaking of the loops, when it came to interacting with the main six, I love how there were mistakes made, and we got to see repeating. That was an excellent way of doing the jokes, and the humor on this was excellent, by the way. And while I feel kind of down that we didn't get to see the Fluttershy or Twilight interactions, I am glad it cut off right when it did. Otherwise, the joke would have gotten repetitive, and it would have nearly become as fun as it was. That's another point of this fic that I really got to point into his corner, is that it pulls this off well. It makes sure that the jokes stay there long enough, but don't fade too away that they're useless. Which brings me to the first attempt that Blueblood did to try to make this day perfect. When he started making sure that the main six had everything. Had the talking, had the birds, had the dance. Did you notice something? Because I noticed it. It wasn't them. It just wasn't them. This was an interesting thing to put into this Groundhog Day loop. Was that Blueblood was trying to put his version of them into the scenario, and he was putting what he thought he would do to make this night perfect. This wasn't them. Applejack didn't really need to be fancy. She just needed people to buy stuff. Rainbow Dash just wanted to hang out. She didn't want to hang out with a whole group. She just wanted to hang out with a few Wonderbolts and enjoy her time with them. Fluttershy just wanted a nice calm evening with some of the animals, not just be given this thing on a crystal platter. I guess that's another important thing to realize, is that some of these mares actually wanted to feel like they earned this. That they weren't given to these treatments just on a silver platter given to them by God. God said, "Here, your prize." Because he knows what they didn't have? They weren't having fun. It just wasn't special. This didn't make it unique. And I guess that's the point. You can't have it hanging out of your head, this stuff handed to you on a silver platter and have it mean something. It would mean nothing if you didn't have it. I like the second version of the loop, where it actually did remember who these girls were, and actually did play onto their personalities, and actually gave them a chance to experience some fun. Overall, this fic is beautiful. Well worthy of all the praise and the 4,342 upvotes! Dude, that's more than mine. Well, next time, we got something really special. Hit the trailer. My name is Rainbow Dash. Fastest flyer in all pony in Equestria. And so let's see us private student. Nothing that's a big deal behind you. I'm still gonna be a Wonderbolt one day. Just you watch. What do you mean I'm going to go to the Summer Sun celebration? And what's with this friggin' black pony thinking he can ruin stuff for me? Well, I'll show her. You don't call me Rainbow Awesome Dash or nothing! I'll beat this mare, bring life back to Equestria, and save every pony just once! Next time! Rainbows of Royalty! See you there. Oh, and apologies for any future delays in the next week. Moving. What a bummer.